I invite you to stand and join in singing our opening hymn.
Please remain standing. I'm going to ask Roxy and Teresa Mayberry to come forward and light our chalice. And the rest of us, please join me in our covenant. Enriched by our differences and joined together in our search for meaning, we covenant with ourselves and each other to seek truth in a spirit of love, to strive for justice, and to serve others with a joyful heart. Please be seated.
Well, good morning and welcome. Good to have all of you here, and if you're visiting for the first time, I'd like to extend a special welcome. It's good to have you at our service. My name is Roger Fritz. I'm the interim minister here, and I'd love to meet you and talk with you after the service and find out more about you if you're visiting. And of course, I'd love to talk to any of you after the service and learn more about your commitment to this church. If you're viewing this service on Zoom, please remember that you can activate closed captioning if that's helpful for you. And if you'd like to talk with others after the service, there will be a virtual coffee hour. Just stay logged in and you'll be invited into the breakout room. If you're attending worship in person here in the service, please join us for coffee hour. And now, you will introduce our joys and sorrows.
So every Sunday, we gather together in community, carrying whatever emotions we are experiencing today. We may be full of joy, full of sorrow, full of mixed feelings, and we honor those feelings by dropping stones into a bowl of water. Just as the stones are held by the water, so are all who drop them held in love by this community. Please file up the aisle, or please file down the side and then back up the aisle as you drop stones. All are welcome. If you are joining us online this morning, you can share your joys and sorrows in the chat. dropped a final stone for the joys and sorrows held by those online and for those for those unable to be with us today. I now invite you to join in our centering song as we enter into worship together.
Let's be together in prayer and meditation. Within these walls and in the confines of a few brief moments, we pause amidst the strains and conflicts which fill our world and which fill our very being. We pause and seek for strength and confidence and direction. We hope that we might gain further insight into the life about us and be helped to see the meaning of our days. May we find strength to meet all that life prepares for us. May we have the strength to be free of the shackles of the past and of the corruptions of the present. May we have the strength never to overestimate our own virtue, nor to underestimate the virtue of others. May we have the strength to see that we do not have many answers to the problems of life, and the awareness that we are not inadequate because of that. May we be able to meet the wholeness of our lives with a quiet acceptance of things as they are, and with understanding that all people meet like joys and like sorrows. May we share the joys and be of comfort in the sorrows. Let's join together in the spirit of life. Stirrings of At this time in our service, we ask for your financial support. Your support, the free and generous support of each and every member and friend of this community, is what fuels this community and its mission. Without your support, the flame of justice, of community, and love cannot burn brightly and be a beacon in the world. You can text your donation to the number provided on the screens. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Good morning. So our Time for All Ages today comes from the wonderful Reverend Erica Hewitt, and it is about our fourth principle. Now, some of you might know exactly what that is, and some might not, but our fourth principle is the one that talks about how we, as you use, we have the ability to undertake a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. A free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Sometimes in RE we talk about this as we search for what is true. But today I want to talk about the free and responsible part, because those freedom and responsibility, those are kind of big words. So what does freedom mean when we talk about our search for truth and meaning? What does it mean to have a free search for truth and meaning? I'm asking you. You can yell it out. Some of you are looking at me like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize there was a pop quiz today in church. Freedom from judgment of others. So we can search, we can go into that search without judgment. No one gets to tell you what you think or what to think. Yeah, that's the freedom part, right? We have the freedom to make up our own minds, to have our own ideas, to gather lots of information, to question and wonder. That's the freedom part. What about responsibility? What does it mean to have a responsible search for truth and meaning? Say it again, Rena. Looking for fact-based answers. So searching, looking, questioning, wondering. And I think part of that responsibility also means that we keep an open mind. Maybe we have to change our minds sometimes if we get other information. So I'm going to light a candle this morning because I think the free and responsible search for truth and meaning is really important. And I'm going to light a candle because I am grateful for the freedom that we have. I'm going to put it down here so it doesn't fall. Actually, I'll do this. So that candle represents freedom. And then, well, I don't know. It really, Oh my goodness. This is delicious. Some of you are giggling and I don't know why. Is Roger doing something strange behind me? Yeah. Why are we giggling? Why are we laughing? I'm eating a candle? No, I'm not. I'm definitely not eating a candle. This is white chocolate. This is just white chocolate, and I can see why you would have thought it was a candle, right? Because it looks an awful lot like a candle. It has a wick. It came in this little thing that makes it look like a candle. It looks just like that one. It's not a candle. It's white chocolate, so I can eat it if I want to. It's really quite good. But see, that's the thing, right? That's our fourth principle. I lit a candle that was made of wax, and then I picked up this. And in your minds, you made a belief. You believed this was a candle. And then I started to bite into it. And then you had to question that belief. I mean, maybe you thought, oh my gosh, Chrissy is losing her marbles and she's eating candles in front of the church. Is that what you thought, Jacob? You thought I was losing my marbles. Well, you know, it could happen. And some of you might have realized, oh, that must not be a real candle. Or maybe you were putting some other clues together. But the point is, we have the freedom to make our beliefs, and then we have the responsibility that when those beliefs come into question, we can change our minds. That is our fourth principle, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Thank you for listening to my story today. All right, my friends, my young friends, I just want to review what just happened. This is a real candle. It is made of wax. Wax tastes disgusting and would be really, really bad for your body to eat. This is a candle that I made all by myself out of white chocolate, so I knew for sure that it was safe for me to eat. Don't ever eat a candle unless you know for sure, absolutely positively, and a grown-up tells you that it is safe to eat, okay? The end. All right, so it is time for our children to go to their religious education classes. I just want to make a few announcements before we do that. If you are the parent, my friends, let's be quiet so the parents can hear, because if we're all talking, the parents can't hear, and then they don't know they don't know how to pick you up. So if you are a preschool, kindergarten, or first grader, your families are going to pick you up from the playground today. Parents, you will pick up on the playground at 10:45. Everyone else picks up in their regular classrooms at 10:45. If you are a visitor and you're not sure exactly where to go downstairs, and I or Leah will be there to show you where to go. All right. Joy is going to play our sending song, and we will sing our children out. We sing it through one time all together. You are so loved, you are
Thank you. The reading this morning is from Senator Sam Ervin. wait for the door to be shut. There we go. Senator Ervin wrote, "If any provision of the Constitution can be said to be more precious than the others, it is the provision of the First Amendment, which undertakes to separate church and state by keeping government's hands out of religion and by denying to any and all religious denominations any advantage from getting control of public policy or the public purse." This is so because the history of nations makes this truth manifest. When religion controls government, political freedom dies. And when government controls religion, religious freedom perishes. The Founding Fathers desired that all Americans of all generations should enjoy religious freedom. To this end, they added the First Amendment to the Constitution. We must not delude ourselves into believing that because the amendment appears in the Constitution, the survival of religious freedom is ensured for all time in our land. The First Amendment can be robbed of its vitality by a subsequent amendment to the Constitution. Moreover, it is not beyond the realm of possibility that it may be robbed of its vitality for all practical purposes by faithless or misguided judges who wittingly or unwittingly sell the truth it proclaims to serve the needs of the political hour. The saddest epitaph which can be carved for the loss of a vanquished right is that those who had the power failed to stretch forth a saving hand while there was yet time. Christian nationalism. The belief that America was founded as a Christian nation has rooted itself firmly in one of our two major political parties. Fueled by a generation of conservative religious leaders, going back to the 1970s and Jerry Falwell and the Moral Majority, arguing that Christianity is persecuted in America, the members of this movement see themselves in a spiritual battle with Satan. I read about it in the news. The forces of darkness are hitting us really hard right now, one political candidate told a few hundred people at a church parking lot rally. We're going to bring the state back to righteousness. This is our day, our hour, to take our state back and renew the blessings of America. The candidate's wife then told the crowd that her husband's opponents are opposed to God. In a convoluted sentence, she said, "When you're against God's plan, there is nothing that will stop it, God's plan. And they are very worried right now that there's nothing that's going to stop this." Other speakers that evening included a man in a Minuteman costume holding a flag. He emphasized to the crowd that a Christian nation is what the founders intended. I've heard this claim all my adult life. However, when I studied the religious beliefs of our founders, the evidence does not support this view. A group of imperfect white men came together in Philadelphia in 1787 to write the Constitution. In general, they regarded their religious beliefs as private. Still, we do have some information. Consider, for example, Benjamin Franklin, an inventor, a scientist, philosopher, writer, and diplomat. His early religious training was as a Presbyterian. However, as he grew into adulthood, he turned to physical and intellectual pursuits. On the topic of turning water into wine, Franklin wrote, "Behold the rain which descends from heaven upon our vineyards, and which incorporates itself with the grapes to be changed into wine. A constant proof that God loves us and loves to see us happy." Franklin loved music, and he composed the lyrics for drinking songs. In 1745, Franklin wrote a letter entitled "Advice to a Friend on Choosing a Mistress," in which Franklin listed 7 reasons why an older mistress is preferable to a younger one, including better conversation and less risk of unwanted pregnancy. Franklin himself had at least one illegitimate child. Benjamin Franklin was not a member of any church, although he attended Quaker meetings and Universalist services. One of his friends was the founder of the Unitarian Church in Philadelphia, Joseph Priestley. Another was the Universalist, Dr. Benjamin Rush. Franklin attempted to calm passions during a tense constitutional debate in 1787. He proposed that as God governs in the affairs of men, the Constitutional Convention begin their sessions with a prayer. One delegate seconded the motion, but nobody else was interested in praying, and the delegates dropped the idea. Some delegates thought it strange that this proposal should have come from a man often criticized as a hedonist and a freethinker. However, besides his love of wine and women, Franklin did believe in God. A few weeks before his death, he wrote, "I believe in one God, creator of the universe, that he governs it by his providence, that he ought to be worshiped, that the most acceptable service we render him is doing good to his other children. I have some doubts as to the divinity of Jesus, though it is a question I do not dogmatize upon, and think it needless to busy myself with it now, when I expect soon an opportunity of knowing the truth with much less trouble." George Washington attended the Anglican Church all his life. Yet, like his friend Franklin, he was more interested in the practical aspects of life than in the spiritual. Washington liked to gamble, to play cards, to bet on horse races and cockfights, and to dance. And one year, when he was in his 30s, he hunted foxes 49 days, and he went to church 15 days. When he became commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, several times Washington found it necessary to deal with religious prejudice. When anti-Catholic bigotry arose, he issued an army order calling for the commemoration of St. Patrick's Day. When other chaplains in the Army asked General Washington to dismiss the Universalist chaplain, Reverend John Murray, because he was not a true Christian, Washington gave Reverend Murray a promotion. The Sunday before the start of the 1787 Constitutional Convention, Washington, newly arrived in Philadelphia for the meetings, chose to attend services at the small Catholic church in Philadelphia. It was a deliberate effort on his part to make a visible statement about the need for religious tolerance. We know Washington believed in God. Still, about his views on Jesus, we have little information. The father of our country had a strong sense of privacy on this issue. We do know that he refused to take communion once the American Revolution started. and that he was not a formal member of any church, although he attended the Anglican and later Episcopal Church. The Revolutionary War led to a change in Washington's beliefs about slavery. During the war, he went from a man who did not seem to have questioned slavery as an institution to someone who believed it was wrong. Washington came up with several plans to free his slaves, plans that did not work out. Ultimately, in his will, he freed those slaves who belonged to him. Washington went to considerable effort to assure all religious groups that he had nothing but the highest respect for their particular beliefs. As a public official, he felt he could best serve religion by ensuring that no single denomination be given government authority over others. Washington wrote, "We have abundant reason to rejoice that in this land the light of truth and reason has triumphed over the power of bigotry and superstition, and that every person may here worship God according to the dictates of his own heart. In this enlightened age, and in this land of equal liberty, it is our boast that a man's religious tenets will not forfeit the protection of the laws, nor deprive him of the right of attaining and holding the highest offices that are known in the United States." Alexander Hamilton was 32 years old when he was elected as a delegate to the Constitutional Convention in 1787. Hamilton was brilliant but arrogant. At the convention itself, he arrived, he impulsively left, he returned for a day, he made one speech, and impulsively left again. As a result, his impact on the wording of our Constitution was small. Nevertheless, historians remember him as one of the four giants among the delegates. His aggressive and brilliant arguments about the need for a strong national government were a key force in the creation and ratification of the Constitution. Hamilton was born in the West Indies, a child of an adulterous relationship. He got his first job in a store when he was 14. He came to New York from the West Indies when he was 17. Within 2 years, he began writing political tracts. And by the time he was 20, he was an aide to Washington in the Revolutionary Army. When he was only 24, he became the first Secretary of the Treasury and the father of the American economic system. A man of intense passions, Hamilton rushed headlong into friendships, battles, love affairs, causes, always filled with passions and impatience. We know little about Hamilton's religious beliefs. We have no evidence that he attended church. He argued vigorously for the natural rights of human beings. And about God, he said, "The Supreme Being gave existence to man, together with the means of preserving and beautifying that existence. He endowed him with rational faculties, by the help of which to discern and pursue such things as were consistent with his duty and interest, and invested him with an inviolable right to personal liberty and personal safety. He died at the age of 47 in a duel with Aaron Burr. His life was a product of the Enlightenment, and his death was an echo of the Dark Ages. James Madison was 36 years old when he arrived in Philadelphia in 1787. Madison is the father of our Constitution. He directed the chain of events that led to the Constitutional Convention, and he gave to the convention a philosophy that set the tone for the meetings. Madison was shy and modest, more at home in the company of books than of people. Once, when he was in his 30s and was staying at an inn in Williamsburg, Virginia, someone reached through a window and stole his hat. Madison was so embarrassed at the idea of appearing in the streets without a hat that he stayed inside the inn for 2 days until he could buy a hat from a dealer who happened by. He suffered from a fear of rejection, and he declined to be governor of Virginia. He feared that if someone attacked him in the press, it would injure his feelings and his health. Still, in the privacy of his study, writing letters and essays, Madison found his courage. He did not like others to control him, and when he felt the threat of power over him, he fought back. As a result, he was a strong advocate of religious freedom. In 1776, at the age of 25, Madison proposed an amendment to the Virginia Constitution declaring that all people were entitled to free exercise in religion. He led the fight against special privileges of the Anglican clergy and against attacks to support the Anglican Church. Madison strongly supported Thomas Jefferson's Bill of Religious Freedom in Virginia. Thanks largely to Madison's leadership, the Virginia legislature passed the bill. He was also a principal sponsor of the Bill of Rights embodied in the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The first article guaranteed freedom of religion and prohibited the establishment of a national church. Madison referred only rarely to his personal religious beliefs. We know that he studied for the ministry at Princeton before going into politics. We know that he believed in God. However, we have little information about how he felt about Jesus or whether he attended religious services. Like Washington, he regarded these as private matters. His public determination was to prevent any denomination from getting power that would enable it to dominate the others. Madison wrote, "Ecclesiastical establishments have been seen to erect a spiritual tyranny on the ruins of civil authority. They have upheld the thrones of political tyranny. In no instances have they been the guardians of the liberties of the people. A just government instituted to secure and perpetuate the public liberty needs them not." And he added, "Religion is for the honor of America, perfectly free and unshackled. The government has no jurisdiction over it." If Franklin was the philosopher, Washington the overseer, and Hamilton the economist, Madison was the chief engineer and foreman of the Constitution. Now, of course, by today's standards, all of these white men have serious moral flaws when it came to the treatment of Native Americans, African Americans, and women. Our job is to make it better, just as our ancestors did, by ending slavery and giving women the right to vote. It is an ongoing struggle. Sometimes we go backwards. The Supreme Court ruled in June of 2019 that a 40-foot cross may continue to stand on public land in Maryland, rejecting arguments that it represented an unconstitutional endorsement of religion. The vote was 7-2. Justices Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Sonia Sotomayor dissented, and Ginsburg emphasized her strong disagreement by reading part of her dissent from the bench. In the spirit of James Madison, she said, "Decades ago, this court recognized that the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment to the Constitution demands governmental neutrality among religious faiths and between religion and non-religion. Numerous times since, the court has reaffirmed the Constitution's commitment to neutrality. Today, the court erodes that neutrality commitment, diminishing precedent designed to preserve individual liberty and civic harmony. By honoring World War I service members with a cross-shaped memorial, the state of Maryland, she said, places Christianity above other faiths and sends the message to people of other faiths that they are outsiders. Separation of church and state is an ongoing struggle. Finally, a personal note. In 1985, when I was serving as a minister in Massachusetts, I received a large package in the mail. It was from my representative in Congress, a man named Gary Studs. Congressman Studs had been singled out by the moral majority as the worst congressperson in the United States because he was the first openly gay person to serve in the United States Congress. The moral majority poured tens of thousands of dollars into the district to defeat him. I spoke out in sermons, letters, and interviews disagreeing with the views of the moral majority. Inside the package from Congressman Studs was a letter of thanks and the gift of this book, a portfolio of writings from Paine, Madison, Washington, William Douglas, Hugo Black, Felix Frankfurter, and others, all on the topic of religious freedom. One statement was from Senator Sam Ervin, who you may remember from the 1973 Watergate hearings, whose words I read as the reading this morning. So I want to close again with Senator Ervin's words. If any provision of the Constitution can be said to be more precious than the others, it is the provision of the First Amendment which undertakes to separate church and state by keeping government's hands out of religion and by denying to any and all religious denominations any advantage from getting control of public policy or the public purse. This is so because the history of nations makes this truth manifest. When religion controls government, political freedom dies. And when government controls religion, religious freedom perishes. Let's sing our closing hymn. Let's remain standing and join in our benediction. For those who come here
seeking God,
may
God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection.
And for
those who come to seek a path,
may a
way be found,
and the courage
to take it step by step. Blessed be.
This concludes our service.